Right, on to this week's Street Talk. I've got 7 stories down, although some of them are throwaway, got a couple of scenes, if that. But the main story that we're starting off with this week was the Yaz fighting storyline, which had a nice little twist to it towards the end of Friday's episode. I'm looking forward to seeing what you thought about that. Then we'll go on to the Tincognito story with Daniel and Nikki. Johnny's had issues. I've changed that now. It's now Johnny Scott's secrets, because they've got a secret and we kind of half know what it is now, but I think it feels like we're going to be left guessing for a little while longer on this one. There don't appear to be any hurry on telling us the exact details of it.
I don't know if it's one of these things that I wonder whether there will even be any exact details.
Oh, I think there will.
Do you know something?
No, I honestly, I don't know anything about what's going to happen, but I think they wouldn't have. I know it's not their fault that they've kept us going this long, but they wouldn't have built it up to.
It is their fault.
To just say, that thing with the security guard.
It is their fault because they've been writing him a 3 a week.
Okay. Right, the other stories are the short ones. So the David and Shona stuff I've called Peep Show because she starts stripping in the street on Wednesday.
Peep Show, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had a little bit of the Todd Squad story, not very much. The bit more of the Devstitute story that's come back. It's been ages since we've had any snifter of Dev's financial woes, but it came back again for a little bit this week. And there was a tiny more bit of the Abby Debbie Doodah story as well on Monday's episode. So Yaz fighting this week. It starts off with Geoff coming into Speed Daal announcing that he's going to be starting working full-time there. I don't know how he's going to cope with his job as a radio DJ at the same time, but he'll find his way. Alya tries to get rid of him, and he's like, no, I'm sorry, I want to buckle down and work hard on this business with you. He's acting all cheery about it. He kind of flip-flops, doesn't he, between being all like this and then being horrible, and he's trying to come across as being the reasonable one and all this. And Ryan agrees. Ryan says to Alya, look, you just need to pretend like you don't care about it before getting slung out by Geoff himself. And then Geoff says, he comes up with his new business opportunity, his new business idea, which is getting cheaper ingredients because of the financial
well, I don't
slump
think it's
that they're going through at the moment, and also selling alcohol. So this has been a kind of a slow burn sort of scheme for Geoff, hasn't it? And it's been the main change that he's made that seems to, I don't know whether it's just to annoy Alya, but it's her Achilles heel, really, isn't it? Well, she was determined not to have any alcohol at all in the bistro.
Then he started letting people
bring their own in, and now he says, look, we get so much more money selling it. And Alya's like, no, we're not doing that. But by the end of the day, Geoff has cancelled the usual supplier and applied for an alcohol licence.
Oh, no!
And he also reveals that he's got power of attorney over Yasmin, so he can basically do what he wants with their 50% share. He doesn't need to get her permission to do it. So Alya says, I'm not going to let you win. And he says, well, that's what your gran thought at first, until I showed her who's boss.
Oh, dear.
And he's showing his true colours again to Alya at the end of the episode there. Wednesday, Alya and Ryan come down into Speed Daal early in the morning, and already there's a load of boxes of booze that Geoff's had delivered. He works fast, this man, doesn't he? Literally, the beginning of the previous episode, he's like, I think we're going to apply for an alcohol licence. I wonder whether it was a fait accompli when he told Alya that it was an idea. But I suppose we did see him on the phone to his mate. But anyway, nice, speedy service there. Well done. So she's mad about this, obviously. Meanwhile, Tim and Sally are back from Gina's. But when we left them last, Tim had... He was telling Geoff no, wasn't he? He started to see Geoff for what he really was. And rather than using this time away at Gina's to, get... for Sally to make sure that he definitely showed he knew which side his bread was buttered, he's kind of come back and he's drifting back over to his dad again. Geoff's there moaning about the Speed Daal stuff with Alya, and Tim's just like, poor dad sort of thing. But Geoff has apparently got a faulty Hoover, which we saw. It must have been the previous week now, wasn't it, when he couldn't work out the how the cord worked. Anyway, he says, Tim, come over my house later, please. Help me fix out my Hoover. So Tim goes over
just
there.
To be clear,
yes,
he got angry and chucked his Hoover around and broke it.
Yeah, well, it's clearly borne the brunt of Geoff's anger because it's got a massive crack down it. And Tim's like, what's going on here? And Geoff says, it only fell down the stairs. So while he's there, they start talking about Alya again, and Tim says, look, you just need to keep your distance from her. And this is when Geoff starts off his sub-stories again about, oh, it's been so hard for me recently, I need to go to work there, blah, blah, blah. But he also makes some snarky remark, I can't remember what he said now, about Sally, and Tim, he doesn't like it. He doesn't particularly argue against it or anything, but he uses that as his cue to leave. So he's still not 100% on Geoff's side. Geoff goes over to Speed Daal later and says, look, this is clearly not working, us being together. I'm going to buy you out. So I don't know where he's supposed to be getting this money from, but that doesn't particularly matter because she can't believe this has come right out of left field for her. She calls him spiteful and vindictive, and he says, you're about to find out how spiteful and vindictive I can be when I set my mind to it. So he then goes over to Sally's house, sells Sim up, offers to buy Alya out. Sally is not surprised about any of this. Well, no, she's not surprised that Alya doesn't want to sell that up, but again, Tim seems to be sympathising with Geoff again. Meanwhile, Alya's stressing out at Speed Daal. The chef's not turned up. She's there working on her own. I think Ryan's been called away. He's been called away to Ali, hasn't he? Because we find out on Friday that Ali's wound up with, was it 4 months in prison? This was the most
surprising thing that happened, the whole episode.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Remember this? No? Well, we're going to tell you anyway. Yeah. So anyway, she rings up the chef, and it turns out that Geoff has told him not to come in. This is him being spiteful and vindictive. She accidentally smashes something behind the bar, and then she snaps. She throws everybody out there. Corey's there with Asher, and she has a bit of a meltdown, doesn't she? And smashes a table over and screams at them until everybody leaves. So there's a couple of embarrassed looking patrons seen scurrying up the stairs of Speed Daal. Tim and Geoff happen to be walking along outside. They go down to see what the commotion's all about, which makes things worse. And we end the episode with Alya brandishing a broken wine bottle a la Yasmin at Geoff's throat. Oh no, what's going to happen? Is she going to stab him again and give him maybe a matching wound on the opposite side? No, of course not.
Did you write down why there was a broken bottle?
I said that she's been smashing them around.
Oh, that's right, she dripped over them.
So it's diffused quite quickly on Friday, to be fair, unsurprisingly.
Are we going to talk about Corey?
We mentioned him very briefly.
Okay, right.
So anyway, Alya says, look, Geoff, you just want to hurt people. What about Elaine? What's happened to her? It doesn't take long before Tim comes over to her and says, look, calm your jets, love. She kind of shakily puts the bottle down, and then that's pretty much the end of that. Ryan comes down, and kind of he and Alya go back out again, and that's kind of it for that. It was over and done before you knew it, really. So in the flat, Alya tells Ryan about Geoff's offer earlier, and Ryan says, look, maybe we should start to think about selling up. If this is causing you this much grief, it's not worth it. And she's like, no, this is my family business. I'm not letting him have that. Beginning, it was me and Gran, and he came and basically took her share from her, and now he wants this. I'm not gonna do this. And he says, look, whatever happens, you can't let Geoff think he's won. So and look how you're wound up you are. He wanted you to do this, so just think about it, okay? Meanwhile, Geoff can tell that something's up with Tim because he's been listening in to what Alya's been saying about him in Speed Daal, and he's like, what? Why are they saying this about you, Dad? Why are they saying that you're so horrible? And immediately Geoff's like, oh, well, you're siding with the enemy, aren't you? I can't trust you. And Tim, who had agreed to go out for a drink with Geoff, decides that he doesn't want to anymore. So again, he's starting to go away from his dad again. So this is when Geoff has to rope in Faye, who comes in. She gets the whole sob story from Geoff. And interestingly as well, because she'd seen him be nasty a few weeks ago, she doesn't immediately jump to his defence. And yet she's being quite level-headed about it. But when he begs her to go and have a word with Tim, she reluctantly agrees to that. And Tim doesn't really want to hear what Faye has got to say about it. He seems very conflicted still. And Sally is trying to get Faye to see that Geoff is a nasty piece of work. And this is, I think Faye goes off for a bit, and this is when Tim mentions the CCTV camera, which I was quite glad has been brought up again, because Tim had walked in on Geoff using it like months ago, hadn't they? And Geoff had said, "Oh, I bought this for surveillance. I wanted to, protect Yasmin,
Security.
protect the house security and everything like that. Please don't tell anybody about it because what was his reason? He didn't want to."
I don't remember what he said.
I don't think he said, "I don't want it to look. It might look weird." It was. I think he said, "I don't want people to think I'm just a paranoid, sad, pathetic old man." So Tim agreed to keep his secret. So that didn't last for too long, because now Tim has blabbed to Sally, and Sally immediately sees this as exactly what it is, being yet another tool in his manipulation toolbox, and says that this is manipulative and creepy. Can't you see that, Tim? They end up arguing. She calls Geoff lying and manipulative, but Tim is still not going. Now his dad's being attacked directly again. Tim's more on the defence, and he refuses to cut Geoff out of his life. He said, "This guy fed me, didn't teach me to read, mind you,
No.
but can't have everything. Sorry, he's my dad. I'm sticking by him." And that's where we were left on Friday.
Interesting.
So what did you think about the camera stuff? Are you glad to hear that up again, or did you think it was a case of, not this again?
Well, they're obviously bringing it up to remind everybody they exist, and also I think it's kind of good to hear them mentioning it, because I was starting to wonder and think to myself, oh, they're never going to mention this again.
Sometimes stories will be focused around one particular thing for ages, and it's almost it ends up being a red herring, doesn't it? Or they decide to change tack, and then it's like, oh, it's never happened.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm glad that it's not been completely forgotten about.
Yes.
And also I've been feeling that this story has been treading water for a little bit recently, and it's not a case of this story's been going on too long, when's it going to end, because I understand it needs to be a slow burner, but it's felt a little bit going round in circles for quite a long time, with Alya being driven slowly insane by Geoff, and him doing his sob stories, and then being horrible and bitchy to Yasmin when nobody else is, not to say Yasmin, sorry, to Alya when nobody else is there. So this perked me right back up again. It's like, aha, we're stepping up a gear. The question is, what's Sally going to do with this information now she knows that he had a camera? Because, as we know, the camera doesn't exist anymore. It's been thrown away.
I guess he might still have the files.
Yeah, we saw him delete them.
Yeah.
Although there is a question about, did he actually delete them, or did he, did he empty the
recycle bin?
Yeah, I mean, who knows how Geoff's computer operating system works with regard to deleting video files.
It would be very interesting if it turned out that Faye was the undoing. Not that I think maybe a kid her age would necessarily, like you were telling me. Oh no, I think her age they would do, but younger children wouldn't. You were telling me about how children don't know how to use...
Yeah, kids don't really understand how to use PCs anymore.
When they're young.
They're much more tabletified. So Faye possibly could, but also because it's video. I mean, I think kids know about video editing and things because they're all...
I'm not really talking about
wannabe
editing.
YouTubers, aren't they?
I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about finding it in the recycle bin.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that Coronation Street's still in a... Kids know about technology and computers, and grown-ups don't. And especially
it wouldn't surprise me if Sally recruits Faye, because Faye was along. Yeah. What was that? Faye is on the fence. She was staunchly a Geoff supporter for a long time, wasn't she? But I think that now she's seen what he's like, she might be able to be convinced by Sally to help her out. It might not even be that they find the files. Because to be honest, if they find the files, that's it. That is game over for Geoff, isn't it?
It might just be the fact that the camera ever existed is enough for...
Well, they can...
I don't know. It doesn't change anything, does it?
I think the fact that... I think if they go to look, either they'll find the files, which maybe I don't think they will, or they'll find that there are gaps. Because Tim knows that... The reason that Tim brought it up was, if only Geoff's camera had been working the night that he was bottled by Yasmin... We'd know a lot more, but I don't know whether he knows that there's lots of other, missing periods on the camera. And Geoff was trying to say, the camera was faulty, but I just think that possibly Sally and Faye are going to look at that and go,
Maybe they'll find something that says this says that the camera was turned off manually. Or,
Possibly.
this says that the files were deleted by hand. Or something like that.
It might be something like that. Or there might be another date, and I can't remember, where Sally will go, there was something odd going on this date, and that's disappeared as well, whereas Tim maybe wouldn't know that,
maybe,
so I don't know.
Was she in the box when they had the camera?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, she might look at the date and that one. It is, and I know they have conveniences, convenient coincidences on soap, but I think Sally might look at this and go, all the times when something
I want to know about
unusual was happening, possibly. Yeah, all the times that I want to know about, that's not there. Unfortunately, unless the actual video files are there, there's still no concrete evidence that anything happened.
No, police aren't going to go, wow, that proves it. Let's just take him in and let Yasmin out.
No. I don't think they're going to have, them find the camera or anything now. Like, it's accidentally dropped out of the bin. Or...
They always say, this is what they always say, it disappoints me about UFOs and Bigfoot. Lack of evidence is not evidence in itself.
Exactly. So, I'm not sure how this is going to push things forward, apart from make Sally think that she's got even more evidence when maybe she hasn't. But I suppose it could get Faye on her side. It still feels like it's not going to lead to a definite climax, because I think that's going to happen around Christmas time. But yeah, I was excited that this has been brought up again. Is it going to be enough to get Tim on Sally's side again, or is he going to be there with his dad until the end? What
I really want Sally to stop doing now is trying to convince Tim of anything, because this is... How many weeks now has she been basically saying at every possible opportunity to Tim, your dad's the wrong end, your dad's done something wrong, your dad's terrible. And Tim's
dug his feet
Tim
in,
will never change his mind now. It's going to take something external to Sally and Geoff. It's going to take him witnessing Geoff doing something.
But I still wonder what, because he has witnessed Geoff.
Yeah, that's the trouble. He's seen him doing all kinds of stuff.
Because Geoff can just play I'm so sorry, I just got wound up. Because one thing interestingly, or maybe silly it was, that Alya didn't bring up when Tim and Geoff came down to see her in the Speed Daal. She didn't actually say, he cancelled our chef. This is why and I had the day from hell because of that. What she didn't mention it, did she? She just, he's so spiteful and vindictive, or or whatever.
That's not really convincing anybody.
Even if she had said that, I think Geoff would have said, oh yeah, well, you were really winding me up. I just wanted to pay you a lesson. I'm so sorry. This isn't usually like me. And that probably would have been enough to have got Tim to say, oh yeah, okay.
Or he could have just gone,
it's not
I
your
didn't
fault, Dad.
cancel the chef, Alya. You forgot to book him, and now she's trying to blame me.
I don't know whether he'd have done that, or whether that would have been a bit risky, because the next day when the chef comes in, Alya could have said, "Look, go and tell Tim, Geoff cancelled you."
No, because Geoff will go. I can't believe she's resorting to getting the chef to lie for her. This is crazy. I think I'm going to have to fire him.
Yeah.
And then Tim would go, "Don't fire him on my account, Dad." And then the conversation would switch to something else, or you know what I mean? Honestly, Tim is blindly believing what Geoff says over everybody else, and he's what did you talk about last week about? It's sunk cost fallacy or something like that, where he's thinking, I've come this far, if I'm wrong now, I've been wrong all along, and I can't even bear the thought of it.
Yeah. I wish that the Elaine bit of the story would come back again, because it was mentioned,
but mention her at least.
She's just missing, and I think it's been too long for Tim to find that address that she left him. But I hope it's not too long before she's found, but it could well be that she just swans in at the trial now, which would be a bit of a shame, a bit of a deus ex machina to end it all. It needs to be more than that, I think. Tell you something else that I wasn't too convinced of.
I think, it was a bit bad writing if that's what was going to happen.
I didn't like Alya's meltdown on Wednesday, Friday. I was disappointed how tame it was, because I'd seen, and maybe this is just me building it in my own head again, but I'd seen something like Alya meltdown, Alya destroys the Speed Daal. I was expecting more than just all she literally did was push a table over with a bit of the wine on, didn't she? I was kind of hoping that she would completely wreck the place, doing it on purpose. I thought it'd be like, right, if you're having this thing, then I'm going to make sure that there's nothing here for you to inherit. And I was kind of hoping that she completely destroy the place, but
can I tell you something?
It wasn't.
This is the sort of thing this is the sort of wrecking the joint that somebody does when they know they are responsible for cleaning it up afterwards.
Yeah, Geoff sent home the cleaner as well.
I'm going to tip the table over. Rah!
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me a bit. Do you remember that time that Michelle went crazy in the Rovers and threw the wine bottle through the window? I even thought that had a bit more oomph to it. I was just watching it, kind of going, "Oh, Alya." Even I was kind of like on Corey's side because he found it quite funny, and so did I.
I thought Corey was being a horrible little scrote.
He was. But I wasn't watching it going, poor Alya. I was going, oh, Alya's off on one again, which is, I know, partly my problem with this. It's like, we're supposed to be sympathising with Alya, but I just really can't. I don't want it to be Alya that is the hero in this. Yasmin should be the hero in this story.
Right, yeah.
But it's almost like Yasmin's the victim, Geoff's the villain, and Alya's the hero. And Alya as the hero just doesn't sit right with me.
It doesn't sit right because it should be empowering. It should be an empowering storyline. By the end of this, you should be able to watch this and go, you know, Yasmin standing up for victims around the country.
And at the end of the day, she had some help, but she was the one that got herself out of this. Yeah. It's just Alya can just be very whiny, can't she? I mean, remember, like after Luke died,
when she picked up a wine bottle,
and and it just reminded me of that again. I was also thinking, like, you know, maybe it's not such a bad idea if they do get some booze in the bistro, because if they haven't got, you know, if they're not getting the money they need, if they're in financial straits, is it such a bad idea, even if it's just a temporary measure?
Well, you know,
it's her morals.
They're making out like it's her morals, but it's her religion, which I honestly do think is something slightly different. I think it's slightly different if it's against your religion. But she's not particularly she's not saying that, she's not making a big thing of that, is she? I think Coronation Street is trying not to. She's just saying, really, I never wanted this, you knew that. It is a very hard sell in a very secular country that is obsessed with binge drinking, to have a character that they want us to sympathise with going, no, I won't sell alcohol in my establishment. Because lots of people probably watching it going, yeah, I would like a curry and a beer. And honestly, the way they mark stuff up in restaurants, they would make a killing. Yeah. But it's not my business. I wondered whether Geoff was kind of... Do you think that was his plan all along to drive her insane? Has he just been needling and needling? Is this the meltdown that he wanted? I thought this was very, very interesting because obviously it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, the parallel between Yasmin and Alya both holding the wine bottle, like threatening Geoff, and Geoff probably could not believe his luck when this happened in front of Tim. Yeah, I mean, do you think was there a sense of danger? Because I certainly didn't feel it. I don't know whether we were supposed to, on the end of Wednesday's episode, go, oh, is she really going to stab Geoff or what? But I certainly wasn't feeling that. It was like, well, clearly she's not going to stab him. They wouldn't have her do that. They're not going to really go through that again. Well, physically, she couldn't do anything against two grown men. Yeah, even if she had a wine bottle in her hand. I liked it for the parallel, but I didn't feel that there was any chance whatsoever that she was going to attack him, which just it tied into my feelings of disappointment that she didn't wreck the place more. It just felt like such a low-key meltdown with very little threat. So that's why I'm glad now that as of the end of Friday, the focus seems to be shifting away from Alya and onto Sally, who I find a lot more compelling. If anyone's going to help Yasmin, get out of this and take Geoff down, I'd much, much, much rather it was Sally than Alya. Just for no other reason, I like Sally more. Yeah. And sometimes that's all it is. But the thing is, though, she's the one with the least stake out of all of the characters involved in this storyline. Well, it's going against her father-in-law, isn't it? And the risk of putting irreparable strain on the already ropey marriage between Sally and Tim. Well, they're not even married, are they? Because they've got this wedding happening. So she is
she's treading on thin ice, but...
Makes me wonder whether they're going to do something before Sally and Tim's wedding. Like, maybe they might go, we'll know if she ever says, let's get married at Christmas.
Yeah, and it's the same week as the trial?
What? That's inconvenient.
Do you think that they will end up married at the end of this? I think Corrie wants them to be married, so I wouldn't surprise me. The only reason that they need to do it was for plot reasons, wasn't it? The whole bigamy story was felt a bit contrived. Just before we move on then, the Ali stuff. Wasn't expecting to ever hear his name again, quite frankly.
No, I couldn't believe this. I was like...
So, I just did... Why did they have that happen? I mean, it's the timing's gone all over the place, hasn't it, in recent months anyway? But it felt like eons ago that he was in that fight with Gary. Usually, stuff like this never gets mentioned again. Like there wasn't anybody waiting saying to
find out.
But what's going to happen to Ali? So, did they bring him up for a particular reason? Are we going to see Ali again? I don't think.
This came out of the blue.
To.
It was really odd. It felt a bit like Todd's in the Woods to me.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't ask you for this update. When a character leaves the show, we are happy to never to be mentioned again. And really, it's more distracting if they do get mentioned and then nothing happens, because you're like, what's the point of that? Because really, like you say, when somebody starts getting mentioned, you start to wonder, are they coming back? Are we going to see them again? Or I'd rather...
Whereas I think probably it was just a way to get Ryan out of the way so that he could have his meltdown. But there have been other ways that they could have done that.
I don't think anyone would ever go, well, gosh, we need Ryan in this situation because he'll help.
Also, another little bit that was dropped into this was the fact that Gina's got herself a boyfriend, hasn't she?
Good for her. I hope that
somebody that she met online or something.
Loves and cherishes her.
And suggests that they go and move back to Weatherfield. But, okay, right, so that's that story. I will pass the Daniel one over to you. So the Tincognito, although I think she has given up on dressing as Sinead now.
Pass the Daniel. Pass the Daniel.
Yes, I will.
Right, Monday. Daniel tells Adam to go down to the police station because Nikki's been arrested for assault. It was the last time...
Yeah, straight away with that I was like, did she do anything other than throw a shoe at this guy?
I don't think you're allowed to throw things at people, Michael. Even if you're a girl and you're a nice, good-looking young girl, it still counts as assault. Don't be sexist.
Okay.
This is what happens, you see. People think it's funny and cute when women get angry and throw things and just attack people, but it is assault. Just keep your hands to yourself.
But quite often on Coronation Street, they can have female characters assaulting...
Oh, yeah. They have people having full-blown fights and nothing happens. It just depends on what people... what way the wind blows.
And of course, Bethany glassing that man in the face. Who can forget that?
That's fine.
She got completely away with it.
Yeah.
So Nikki throws a shoe. I think it's prejudice against sex workers, to be honest.
Probably. I have to do some research into this and do a dissertation on it or something. Right, so Pete is a solicitor friend of Adam, sees him outside the police station and says, oh yeah, Nikki, yeah, I know her, he's always in trouble. Goes with the job because she's a prostitute.
He says she's a prosy.
Prosy. What's more offensive, prosy or prostitute?
I think prosy.
Nikki, I don't know, prosy's kind of like casual and fun. It sounds like a nice perfume. Whenever I feel in the
like
mood,
tramp.
I reach for my bottle of prosy. It smells like fresh linen and other things. Nikki storms over to Daniel's and says, leave me alone. I can fight my own battles. And also, this guy didn't even press charges at all.
But that doesn't matter. You wouldn't have had to if you hadn't come and wound things up.
And Daniel says, I just missed you. I know that you're not her, but it's nice for a while to pretend that you are her. And I do genuinely like you.
Which she kind of likes the look of it. She does a bit of a smile.
Like, oh, that's good. But she does say, look, you need help. And then Tracy comes round and Daniel says, oh, this is my friend, Nikki, who is a friend from university. And Tracy's very excited about this. She wants to talk. She's been shielding because of a kidney transplant this whole time, she says.
Nice.
Yeah.
We had said that we haven't seen much of Tracy recently, haven't we? But I suppose that fits.
Yeah.
Has Carla been shielding as well? Doesn't appear to have been because she has been in quite a few other stories. But
yeah, she's been working behind the bar.
Yeah.
Daniel,
Maybe Tracy's had it worse or something.
Daniel explains that, well, maybe she did, like, she's got, like, a really old kidney transplant, and, like, Carla's, like, a new great one.
Yes.
Modern
Tracy's
technology.
kidney transplant dates back to 1994, so...
They probably, like, sewed her up with strips of Just 17 magazine. Daniel explains that Nikki works in the office at university. She doesn't go to university. She just works there. Because it's like... Daniel's like, I don't want Tracy to rumble this. And Nikki is obviously a bit thick. Because she's not as clever as me, Daniel.
Nikki the thickie.
You know what I mean? Daniel's like...
Yeah, well, if Ken gets wind of it, he's going to be right over there saying, so, Nikki,
What's
tell me
your
about your
dissertation
favourite Shakespearean sonnet.
Tracy seems to think that Nikki is his girlfriend and trying to keep it quiet. And the more they deny it, the more she just thinks it's definitely true. And then when for some reason, Daniel leaves them together, and then Tracy starts talking about Sinead and saying, oh, it's really great how Daniel seems more happy now, and it must be thanks to you. Then Adam comes in, Nikki runs off, and Daniel goes and chases her, and she's just fed up with all of this. Obviously, this is way more than she bargained for with this guy.
Yeah, she's in over her head now with this.
She wants to get away from him. Daniel comes back, and Adam's got loads of questions. Tracy's left, and so they can speak more candidly. And he admits to this is really funny. Oh no, this happens on Friday. And Daniel says, yes, she is a sex worker, and so what? And Adam's like, oh, I don't know, this doesn't sound very healthy to me. On Wednesday, Adam sees Daniel and says, I'm worried about you. I think that, this is...
Adam's like, well, I know it's none of my business, but... And Daniel's like, yes, no, you're right, it isn't any of your business.
No. Ray sees Daniel and says, be careful who you associate with. And then Adam goes, that reminds me, I really love Nikki. Phones her up, apologises for yesterday, and says, why don't you come over as a mate? Which I think screams to me, I want a freebie.
Yeah, whatever happens. I just won't have to pay you for it this time, because mates don't pay for it,
So you come round and you're wearing a nice dress and it's a bit nippy, and you have to wear Sinead's cardigan because you're cold. He says, look, I promise you can walk away afterwards if you don't want to stay friends with me. And then Adam finds out Nikki's coming around. He can't believe it. What's going on? And Daniel looks like he's going to explain. Then on Friday, he'll get the other half of it. And Daniel's like, listen, it's not what you think, right? And unfortunately for Daniel, what everyone thinks is a lot better and less weird than what the actual truth of the matter is. He's like, it's not what you think. It's not like I get a sex worker around and pay her to have sex with me. No, I get her to come around and wear my dead wife's clothes and watch videos of my baby. And Adam's like, oh, good God. So I don't think Daniel's very impressed with this. Adam's not very impressed with this, so he confronts her when he sees Nikki in the streets and said, listen, leave him alone. And she says, why don't you make it worth my while? And basically says, if you give me money, I won't go back to see him. So Daniel, we don't see what happens, but we do see Adam coming back to Daniel's place and going, oh, where's Nikki? How strange, she hasn't turned up. And then he says to Daniel, this is the last thing you need right now. It's not good for Bertie. And Daniel gets mad and asks Adam to leave.
Yeah, he's like, don't you dare bring my son into this. I think that Daniel maybe doesn't like the idea that this isn't good for his son. He must know, and he must have had a little niggling voice in the back of his head saying, this isn't right for Bertie.
It's not right for anybody.
But to have somebody confront him with that fact is like, he's not ready for that. Well, this is the thing,
yeah, people don't. Tell you what, parents really don't like when you tell them they're doing something wrong with their kid, especially if you don't have any of your own.
Speaking of kids, we learn on, I think it was Friday, somebody drops in that Nikki's got a daughter.
I thought this was such a weird revelation. About Bertie's
age.
I thought that was really odd. I was not expecting to hear that, because she's really young.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know anything more than that, do we? I mean, there's obviously no father on the scene. Was this...
What are you going to say?
What was this somebody conceived during one of her paid liaisons? Because we know that the escorts and sex workers around Weatherfield obviously don't use protection. Otherwise, Geoff wouldn't have got his STI, would he?
I don't think that...
Maybe Nikki's baby is actually Geoff's.
Oh my God, my God.
Yes.
Think the baby must be a bit old.
No, I thought that they said that. I thought that they
Don't
said
tell
that
me
the baby is
that.
about Bertie's age.
No. Why did you say that?
Although, to be fair, Geoff wasn't going to see sex workers around the same time that Bertie was conceived. But, odd 6 months here and there.
Yeah, but I mean, on Coronation Street, it makes no odds, does it?
Mm.
I thought that was a bit of a weird twist, honestly.
I wonder if it's kind of setting them up to have a happy family, because I still don't know at the end of this whether Nikki's going to be hanging around. I kind of don't want her to. I sort of like her, but then then she does things that make me not like her. But like the bit when Daniel says, I just like you, and she smiles, I thought, okay, that's quite sweet. But when she accepted that money, or basically asked for the money from Adam.
It wasn't like it was Adam's idea.
No.
It was her idea.
She literally,
so give me money.
Yeah. Your money is more important to me than going to speak with Daniel, this guy that thinks that we've got something going on.
This daughter, to me, feels a bit like a get out of jail free card for the writers to try to rehabilitate Nikki and explain away everything that she's done. I'm sure they're going to be like, oh yeah, I was never a sex worker before my baby came along, but then I couldn't look after her. This is the only way I can earn enough money.
Yeah.
As a single mother, I only have to work, sometimes it's just 5 minutes a day. Depends on the man. And also, this is why I was scared of getting too close to you, because I don't want to complicate my life for my daughter. But you know what? You're really such a great man, and I think I could spend the rest of my life. You know what I mean? I can just really feel, and it does kind of annoy me, because if that's where they're going with it, because it's again this tale of sex workers forced into the situation because of circumstances completely beyond her control. Whereas Nikki seemed before then to be like, I've made this choice for myself.
Yeah, I'm preying on men who don't know what to do with their money and quite enjoy it, really. I'm quite
happy to liberate you of your cash.
Yeah.
And it is, I find it a bit...
You're right, I think it could be some way to rehabilitate her character.
It feels very unimaginative.
She's a human too.
No, it feels very unimaginative. For writers often will fall back on, why would a woman do this? And then they're like, oh yeah, because they have a baby. And no woman ever makes mistakes unless they have a child. And then everything they do is always excused.
Yeah.
Because they had a baby. And it just gets a bit boring. Because it's such a reductive character motivation, I think.
Yeah.
And it kind of like reduces mothers as well to automatons who will always do, you know what I mean?
Totally.
I don't know what I'm really trying to say. I'm so tired.
What do you think that Daniel's going to find out that Adam paid for her to go away?
She'll probably bring it up.
But it's
no, this is another
she'll
example.
She'll say he tried to pay me, even though it was her that instigated it.
This is another example of why it's probably written in that Nikki's got a daughter. Because she'll probably say, listen, Daniel, my child is my first priority. Over you. You would say that about Bertie, wouldn't you? Well, yes, I put my child before everybody else, including you. You weren't going to pay me. You wanted me to come round. If Adam gives me money, that means I don't have to work tomorrow and I can spend all day with my daughter, or some rubbish like that, and then he'll buy it.
Yeah.
But really, she is very cutthroat. I've said this the whole way through.
She's appearing it, isn't she?
But it's okay to be cutthroat if you're doing it for your daughter and you're a single mum.
Do you think that Adam? Daniel said that it's none of his business. Do you think that Adam is, putting his neb in where it's not needed, or should he even do more? Because I'm kind of thinking it's not really his business, but he is
half-heartedly meddling.
Yeah,
it's like, get involved or don't.
He's not really getting that involved. If he really didn't think that this was healthy for Daniel, he should be like inviting him out every night, or getting people round, telling Ken maybe. Or do you think?
I'd tell Ken. I'd go off and tell on him.
Oh, and I know we can't have Ken for external reasons coming round and having a bit of a father-son chat with Daniel about this.
Actually, I think you kind of cracked a little bit of this here, because it might very well have been Ken involved in this rather than Adam if they hadn't had coronavirus.
Possibly. Although, Ken was an escort at one point as well, wasn't he? Not the same kind of escort, but he did work for Alec Gilroy at one point in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think, and that must have been the late 90s if it was Alec, and he took rich old women out for meals, so maybe he would sympathise with Nicky in this, otherwise he just looked like a massive hypocrite.
I don't think he's afraid to be a hypocrite. I honestly, if you do look at what Adam's done this week, you really could have put Ken in his place, and he would have done the same thing. I can totally imagine Ken confronting Nikki and offering her money to leave Daniel alone. It seems like more of a thing Ken would do than Daniel would do.
Yeah, and also Adam seems... Why
is Adam so involved?
Especially when he's so much involved with the Gary storyline. I know that's on ice at the moment while they're away on honeymoon, but they're really giving Sam Robertson a lot to do at the moment, aren't they? As somebody who... he went, was it last year that he went away to Italy for a few months, and people have been saying Adam's not, we barely ever see him. That's turned around, and he's quite a major player at the moment now, isn't he? I just wonder whether when Gary and Maria get back off their honeymoon, is he going to suddenly lose all interest in Daniel and have him fend for himself? Because
you remember how involved Ken got with Daniel and Sinead.
Yes.
It's like he probably wouldn't have learned his lesson, even though...
he might have done, maybe. He's like, I don't want to tell you, Daniel, that you shouldn't be seeing this sex worker, but I'm not going to say that just in case you pushed me down the stairs on my way out.
Or... Yeah, exactly.
Right, so on to the smaller storylines already. They were the two main ones. The Johnny Scott Secrets was Monday only, and we were left last Friday with
sitting down. Let's talk about
what this secret is that Corrie's been tantalising with and dangling in front of us for the past 6 months. Well, Johnny says, I feel terrible.
Glad you asked.
It appears that Scott took the rap for something and was arrested for it, and Johnny says, I was too scared to come forward, and Scott's kind of surprisingly okay with it, and he was just like, it's all right, we were mates. But I don't believe Scott for a minute that he's okay for it, and I'm foreseeing some kind of revenge happening at some point in the future. And I think Johnny thinks that as well, even though Scott's saying it's fine. Johnny's very, very much on edge, and he says, look, do you ever think about what happened with that security guard? And that's the closest we get to any kind of revelation. But I think it felt like it was enough for now. I was kind of hoping to know more, but...
What else could they... Really, all we need to know is what it was that they...
It's, are they a murderer? Are they murderers or not? Is Scott a murderer?
Oh, I imagine that they were... So it was a robbery, and then something went wrong, and they saw him fall down, or somebody shot at him, or whatever. But honestly, I can't understand how you wouldn't know what happened, because it would be in the paper if he died.
Well...
Maybe
there is possibly more to come with the security guard later on.
Hey, maybe he got shot in the leg and then he couldn't walk again or something. Because listen, do you ever think about what happened to that security guard, right? Either do you ever think about the fact we killed a guy, or do you ever think what happened to that security guard? I don't know what happened. Because you would know what happened because you were there and you would have followed it up.
I can't remember whether they said what it was that Johnny was sent down for. Was it the robbery? Scott. Or was he sent down for robbery and murder or manslaughter or something like that? I can't remember what they said now. It almost feels like they've got a secret about a security guard that nobody else knows, and they know what's happened to him.
Yes, exactly. Because saying, do you ever think about what happened to the security guard, seems like a really weird way of saying, do you remember when we killed that security guard?
Let's just skip right ahead and go completely off piste here, and then and then move to, we will return to this security guard that has been pulled out of the canal in the Billy and Todd and Sean story, because that's the other thing, isn't it? They basically had that one scene where Johnny and Scott are talking about a security guard, and then like a couple of scenes later we see on Billy's phone, when he's looking through this dead bodies website, it zooms in on something about somebody with a security guard's uniform being pulled out of a canal, didn't it?
Yeah.
And at the time, that felt like Are we supposed to see this? Is this obvious? Do they want us to see, or is it going to be one of these things that later on they say how you never spotted this before? But it felt very, very convenient.
It was on too long.
Yeah, it felt very, very convenient that at the same time that somebody's talking about remember the security guard, and then maybe that same security guard gets pulled out of the canal. So I think it was supposed to be a bit of a red herring.
I thought it was totally stupid and confusing. Who watched that and went, this event happened when Carla was a child. Yeah? Mm. I know that the canals in Manchester don't have a great reputation for being clean. There's no way a man's body has been in the canal so long and is still recognisably a security guard.
Mm. Yeah, I know. I think that they wanted us to think that it was that.
Because what was the news?
But it can't be. I think it was we have found a body.
No, it said something like security guard or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, right? You lead with the most interesting piece of information when you're writing a news article. Mm. You don't write security guard dead pulled from river. You write, good God, we found a 30-year-old corpse in this river. You know what I mean? The fact that he's a security guard is not as interesting as the fact that he's been in there for 30 years if it's the same man.
I don't know whether it was a news article that Billy was looking at anyway, because it was on the website for missing people. So
but if you're trying to help people locate missing people, it probably would be more important to let them know the time frame in which you think this body was. You don't want to make people think it's a recent body if it isn't.
No.
Well, can you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you drag a body out of the river and it's a 30-year-old security guard who's been in there for 30 years, you don't go, oh yeah, his profession's the most important thing out of these two bits of facts. If you only want to know one thing, I'll tell you he's a security guard. It's like going, oh, a brown-haired man was pulled out of the... Oh, and he's also wearing king's robes. We think it might be Richard III, but we've already found him under a car park.
So do you agree that they're trying to... That was a bit of a red herring? And
I thought that was silly.
Yeah, but do you think...
Anyone with a brain is going to go, how could that be the same person? That's confusing.
But did Coronation Street want us to think...
I hope not.
That's that.
I hope
not,
I think
that they did want us to think
I think they're underestimating people's intelligence.
Mm. Well, we'll come back...
Because the thing is, if you think about it for too long, it suddenly becomes super confusing, because you know it's not the same person. It can't be.
It can't be. It can't
be the same person.
It was a bit clumsily done. Let's come back to that when we get to the Billy stuff anyway. So we know that Johnny and Scott were a bit of a pair of robbers back in the day, and something happened to a security guard. But Scott says, let's just put it behind us and let's move on from it. Jenny comes in and she's glad to see them talking because Johnny's been a bit of a closed book since he's been back. He tries to get away, but Jenny says, oh no, Scott can stay for tea. So Scott spends the evening regaling Jenny with stories about those two in the past, including a joke about how they used to... Does it say they're two guys with a ladder and we used to have a snoop in and then go and case the joint and then we go and rob it? And Jenny's like, you what? And he's like, no, only joking. But it felt like maybe what he was saying was the truth because the look on
Johnny
Johnny's
was
face.
Looking at him like shut up.
So Jenny is completely charmed by Scott, isn't she? I hope they're not going down a route where Scott tries to seduce Jenny, but wouldn't surprise me.
Well, maybe he wants revenge.
Well, yeah, I think he does. So after dinner, Scott's left. Jenny says to Carla, oh, I've been finding out all about Johnny's fast. It's so interesting.
Johnny's past, not his fast.
And his past. And when Scott is alone with Carla, he says that some friendships are best left in the past. I'm not the same person as I used to be. So we're still left with the idea of Johnny's a bit of a mystery man. We think we know him, or Jenny thinks that she knows him. But revenge, it feels to me, is definitely on the cards. Because he's been locked away for all these times. It's not like he didn't do anything wrong, but I think he feels that Johnny deserves to take some of the brunt of that.
Even if you're a decent person who happens to be a murderer and a robber, and you're like, well, I'm the one that got caught, I wouldn't want my friend to go down as well, what's the point of us punishing both, better for me to just keep my mouth shut. You still would be like, but I'm really mad about it, and I kind of wanted you to know that I'm mad about it. I think I'd just take all the money out of the till and run away if I was him.
As he was sort of during those scenes that he was on Wednesday, I was kind of thinking, I think you could make quite a good villain. He felt quite believable and quite creepy, and someone who could really
He's also
turn nasty.
physically imposing as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like, you can imagine him just, like, smacking you into a wall.
Yeah, and he's younger than Johnny as well, isn't he? I think he could quite easily take Johnny now, whereas, back in the day, Johnny might have had, his age might have been
an advantage
over him.
We don't know how long ago this was. We know that Scott knew Carla's mum.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we're going back, like, 30,
Scott
40 years.
Scott knew Johnny's wife, and also... but knew her before Carla might have been born. I can't remember.
There's
like
still
30, 40 years
There's still
ago.
something going on between Scott and Carla because he was so protective over her, but I haven't quite been able to piece together what that is yet.
Carla's dad was a security guard.
Johnny is Carla's dad.
Carla's mum was a security guard.
Oh God!
Because they never said it was security guard.
We're just assuming. We're just
being sexist.
Women can be security guards too, even in the 70s.
So, yeah, she was probably a funky security guard with bell-bottom trousers and, like, really tight belt. And, like, Farrah Fawcett, like, fringed hair.
I think you're exactly right.
So Scott's upset because they murdered Carla's mum.
Okay.
And Carla often speaks of that, and it's her passion in life to find out who killed her mum, as we know.
It's feeling to me like it could be a while until we hear more of this story again. I was disappointed when we didn't get to see any of it on Monday and Wednesday. Wednesday felt like a bit of a new filming block to me because that's when we had, the Alahan stuff in there and the Shona and David stuff coming back again. So yeah, we could be waiting a while until we hear more of this. But I'm glad that things are finally starting to move again. Peep show, Gemma.
Yeah, okay, so on Wednesday, David comes over to see Shona in the cafe, and Nina says, oh, she's always happier when she sees you, and...
Shona comes down and they're going to have a little chat. They're going to go on a walk later on.
Nina asks Shona how she's getting on with David, and Shona's not really sure, and she's warming to him, but she's like, I don't know if I feel safe around him, and Nina says, you know that he's mad about you, don't you? And, they go and sit on a Maxine's bench and have a chat.
Shona and David, that is.
And Shona says, are you mad about me? And David says, yes. And she says, does that mean you want to have sex with me? And he says, yes. And so she starts to take her top off, and Jenny's walking past, and she's like, take it away. Go away from me,
What a prude that Jenny Bradley is.
What did she say?
She says, spearmint rhino. Or
That's it, yeah.
We did actually, I'm surprised we got to see a Shona bra shot, didn't we?
Well, you've got to have a treat now and then, haven't we? On Friday...
My highlight of the week.
Shona is offended. So is your character of the week Shona's bra? or did you hate Shona's bra? Because if it wasn't there... On Friday, Shona is offended at David's rebuttal, and he says, I do fancy you. You're improving every day, but you just can't have sex on the bench. In the daylight.
Yeah.
This is Weatherfield. Things will get back to normal. And then Sarah sees David later, and she's worried about Shona. And David says she's just struggling with how to behave, and she doesn't really know what's appropriate and what isn't. But I will stick by her in sickness and in health, which is very sweet.
Yeah, that was nice. I mean, it didn't feel like the story... This was just more of the same, really, wasn't it?
This was more of like manic, like Shona's manic,
yeah,
and she doesn't understand metaphors.
She doesn't know how to react in certain situations, which we knew about already.
What was the thing that she didn't understand what Nina said?
I don't remember.
But she understood the phrase "mad about you." She does some things she understands and some things she doesn't. It's not very consistent. And I'm also constantly watching this, going, "Is this what people are really like?"
That's my problem.
This seems really odd. Is this supposed to be funny? Am I supposed to think this is charming? Because if this is really what people are like, this is not something to think is funny. But you can't really do a story like this and have absolutely no elements of like slightly comical,
It just I don't know anyone who's been shot in the head, thank goodness, but I still question whether this is how people who have been shot in the head and go in a coma for a bit act.
Honestly, did they ever do a proper explanation? Did the doctor ever say anything to anybody?
Probably, but it's been so long.
Well, I just would like them to sit down and say, she was shot here in this part of her brain, which which controls functions related to this, and so therefore she has to you know what I mean? Because
it's
is
really
confusing.
sad if it is realistic, isn't it?
I know, but I have heard, because I studied psychology at A-level, and one of my favourite things was abnormal psychology, and you learned a lot about how the brain works and how different things affect, different disorders and things, and there are very interesting things that can happen to you, and things that, malfunctions of your brain that can have unusual effects. So if this is in fact something that happens...
The thing is, we haven't had the usual, as far as I know, maybe I've just missed it, Jack and Jules going on the breakfast TV show saying, that we worked with the whatever charity for this, and I spoke to people who this happened to, and they also tried to have sex with their husband on a bench. And it feels like, is that because it's not real?
The thing is, right? Is it not real? And if it is real, the thing is, yes, it is a bit funny, but we managed in this country to understand Tourette's syndrome by laughing, but yet understanding and living through someone's experience. In Big Brother, what was the name of that guy? When Pete, who had Tourette's syndrome, was in Big Brother in the UK, you kind of got to see how he could laugh along with what was going on with him, but sometimes it was also really sad when it got in the way of things that he actually wanted to do. And it was touching, and oftentimes you bond more closely and you feel more affectionate and protective of somebody who can also laugh at something which is inherently funny, because sometimes tics can be funny, and people with Tourette's syndrome will say, yes, they can sometimes be funny, but also they can sometimes be really frustrating, because I don't want people to make fun of me or laugh at me. I want it to be my choice. But if this is something that really happens to people, Shona could be a really good person, and I would like her. I mean, she sometimes gets upset about things, but I would. It does remind me a bit of Tourette's syndrome, in that you have an outburst of something that you can't physically help.
Uncontrollable inappropriateness.
Exactly. It's kind of a similar thing. But if we can learn to love and accept it through watching somebody, because before Pete came on Big Brother, Tourette's syndrome was sort of a joke.
Yeah, nobody really knew about it.
And people, if they knew about it, they thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And then we watched him sort of struggle. And then everybody came on board with sort of, this is something that we now know about, and we want to help people who have this problem. I'm just saying, there's a parallel here that is missing a trick, I think.
Yeah, and I do wonder, is it just going to go away and then never be mentioned again? Because Corrie has got a massive history with things like that happening. Are we just going to have a few scenes of her being inappropriate, and then it's not going to be mentioned? And
her going, wait a minute, that's inappropriate, I won't do that.
Yeah.
And then she suddenly never does it again.
And also, it's still... I was thinking about when she was in it a few weeks ago, and she went to see Sarah Lou, or did she go and see... Do you remember when she waltzed into the Platt's house a few weeks ago? And she was like... What was it?
I don't know.
It was before Gary and Maria's wedding, and Sarah comes in and speaks to Sarah. So Shona comes in and speaks to Sarah and says, "Oh, David's just been telling me everything about such and such." And it was almost like she was back to normal then, and also like she was really close to David. Yeah, at the beginning of this week, she seemed surprised that he was mad about her. I don't get why it's many months since she's been back. She's still surprised that he's mad about her, but. Yeah, the human brain is
strange as well, when
a weird thing.
Most of the affliction seems to be, number one, misunderstanding what's appropriate and what isn't, but number two, just always being cheerful.
Yeah.
It's like, if that's actually, if you get shot in the head and it makes you cheerful, with some side effects of you doing inappropriate things which you don't realise, and it's everyone else's problem.
Sign me up.
Yeah, shoot me in the head.
I do like Shona and David. I know you don't. I know lots of people don't.
That's probably what part of my problem is.
I just want to go back to normal again now. I think. Right, we also had, I mean, this Todd Squad story, we basically said already what happened. There was the massive cliffhanger last week, which again fizzled out into nothing when they found this body had been dragged out of the canal, and they're like, is it Todd? And then it's resolved very quickly, and we don't even see them finding out that it's not Todd, do we? We just have either Billy or Sean telling the other, oh, it's fine, it's a man in his 50s, so it's okay. So it's like, I didn't really need that cliffhanger.
Well, I mean, running around in the woods ages you.
And then...
I mean, I feel 10 years older just because I had to shower in a murder van.
Wednesday and Friday was yet more nothing, with Mary going to see Sean in the factory. I'm convinced that nobody's doing any work there. Literally, we're just seeing the office and the break area. It's weird.
I mean...
It's getting to be very noticeable that nobody does any work in that place now.
What a kick in the teeth to Manchester's heritage as a manufacturing powerhouse to have a factory that doesn't make anything.
So Sean's down in the dumps, so Mary goes over to a picnic with him, and they have a lovely time.
They have wine, which is the main thing. But
Sean is still left wondering... Todd was a bit of a, he could wind people up. What if he's upset the wrong person this time? So we're no further this week. All we know this week is it wasn't him in the canal, but he might still be in there, you never know.
If anyone's going to annoy people enough to get murdered, it's Todd.
Yeah.
So where did we get the alert about the missing person? Was it in that story?
Down? Yeah, I have. That was just it, Billy saying, oh, it's fine. He's just looking through the website on his phone, wasn't he?
Was a man in his 50s.
Yeah, and Bill said...
But it was from a canal, so it's a security guard who's been in the canal, he's in his 50s.
Billy says, oh, I think I've just seen something about somebody I knew. Don't worry about it. Does he say that? He might even say that to Paul, which kind of lends credence to the rumour that's going around. And I don't think this is a spoiler. I think this is literally some people's theory.
No.
No? No what?
No.
What?
No.
Don't mention it?
No.
There's a theory going around, but we're not allowed to talk about it just in case it's real. Let's move on to the next story. What's been going on with Dev, Gemma? He's had a bit of a tough time financially during COVID, which is quite handy that this is tied in with the fact that they already wanted to make him destitute because they're spending the money on the school fees.
They're kicking themselves thinking, we didn't need to bother with this whole internet porn side story to make Asha and Ardy move schools because Dev was going to go bankrupt anyway thanks to Corona.
He's just doubly in the doo-doo now.
I will point out that of all the people on the street who have a business, Dev is in a uniquely powerful position because he had a corner shop, and as far as I know, our local corner shop never once closed down. It was open the whole time. Yeah. And he had a takeaway, which also never closed down. So really, business should have been booming for Dev.
Also, did he get a payment break for school if it was closed?
I should bloody well hope so.
During lockdown.
If not, I want an extra year of school, and they can be in school until they're like 19.
But anyway, for one reason or another, he's drowning in bills at the beginning of Wednesday's
it probably is incredibly stressful for any business owner. I'm sure it is, but I'm just going to point out that this is, as far as I understand it, of all the small businesses, corner shops and takeaways have done the best. If anyone can do well out of a pandemic. So he's having a stressful morning on Wednesday. He's got squabbling kids, he's drowning in bills, and he's double booked himself at the corner shop and Prima Donna. But luckily, Asha is a bit more sensitive than Ardy, and she offers to do a shift.
Newly bespectacled Asha. She's now wearing Tanisha Corey's glasses, isn't she? Tanisha put something on Instagram a month or so ago saying, "Oh, I've been wearing these glasses all this time, and now finally Asha gets to go with them." I don't think it was mentioned on the show, but if anyone's wondering why she is suddenly wearing glasses, it's because the actress has got them.
And you shouldn't ever be upset to wear glasses,
no,
because it can make you look even more sexy and wonderful than you already do.
Just like you.
Oh, thanks. I was thinking of Gillian Anderson.
Same difference.
I mean, some people confuse us all the time. We both got British accents.
And maybe those people need some glasses.
Glasses for everyone. It'll help you one way or the other. Corey is in the kebab shop and he apologises to Asha for everything. And, he points,
filming her stripping. And...
I shouldn't have done that. And she's like, don't worry about it.
He's not the one that uploaded the video, is he? Remember? That was Kelly that did that. Kelly, sorry.
No. he betrayed Ash's trust by recording something.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he wasn't in the wrong, but she
yeah.
seems to have forgiven him pretty quickly.
Well, she's forgiven him. It's down to her to decide. But personally, I still think he's a dog. So he
doesn't do anything on the episodes to make you think otherwise, or that he's a gentleman deep down, does he?
So they agree to be more than just friends, and they go to Speed Daal. Then on Friday, we get a bit about Dev being confronted by Kathy because he's cut her hours because he's trying to save as much money as he can by working more, and he says he's got a cash flow problem and times are hard. And I felt really bad for both of them in this scene because Kathy has got the blunt end, didn't she?
Yeah, well, she's saying that Bernie and Ches are getting all the shifts, although I didn't think that Chesney did much work anymore. I thought the whole idea of Bernie working at the Prima Donna was so that he could be a dad to the quads.
Well, basically, it's really sad because Dev has had to do damage control and look at his employees and say, who are the people who need money the most? And sadly, Kathy's at the bottom of the list.
Well, considering that she's going out with an ex-head teacher who's probably, got quite a fair bit stashed away. Also, they own the cabin, so...
Well, she's telling him that times are hard. And she's pleading with him because she says she needs the job. And he says, all I can do is promise to give you any more hours that come up. And then she picks up 2 cans and she's like, are these on offer?
Cans of beans.
And he says, yeah. And then she says, I'll have these, please. And her voice kind of cracks a little bit at the end. I thought this was really touching and interesting. Because Coronation Street can do these scenes really well, where you have a conflict between 2 characters that has no obvious solution, but they're both coming to it from authentic areas of, it's authentic conflict, isn't it? Sometimes it gets manufactured and that's when it's weak, but this is very authentic. You've got, and people can sympathise with this on both ends. People who have been in management positions or owned businesses who have had to make tough decisions that they know employees are not going to like, and people who have been in a tough situation at work where they need money and they know that there's nothing the boss can do, but they could, all they have to do is plead their case.
Yeah, I mean, Dev's he's transferring the problems that he's been going through onto Kathy now. He doesn't want he wants to give her the work, and he knows what it's like to struggle financially because he's been living through that for the last 3 months.
Yeah, but when he says he's got a cash flow problem, and to her, I think what he means is that I'm having to do the work myself.
I don't know.
Well, I think if I was him, I would get my kids to do more work and get rid of all my actual employees. But I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
What's going on? What did you think with Corey? You wanted to say more about Corey earlier.
I don't like Corey at all. He was such a horrible little...
I was disappointed when they brought him back because he's been hovering for over a year, it feels like. Because Amy fancied Corey at one point, didn't she? That actor who plays Corey must quite like the...
and also, I think...
asked back every now and again.
I think he reminds me a lot of Ardy now, because Ardy's got a new actor, and they both seem quite, haughty and reserved, kind of, almost semi-posh boys. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, but I'm not getting that from... I don't know
who
where
aren't you getting
that
from?
Not either particularly.
Oh, to me, they seem like they're too cool. Both of them think they're too cool.
I think Ardy is he's been given a bit of a personality transplant.
He definitely has.
And he's going to be the new heartthrob, I think.
I think so, but I think Corey feels the same way.
Corey just seems to me like he's far too old to play the role of somebody who's...
Well, I'm not really bothered about that, but I will say... So he came up to Asha with this cock and bull story about how, I'm really sad, but it's not really my fault, but I still feel bad about how I was involved. And she went, oh, Corey, you're so handsome. I would like to go to Speed Daal with you.
Well, the fact that she so quickly agreed to be more than just friends with him as well. I thought that she was more intelligent than that.
No, she just fancies him. I don't know why. It's obviously cool. Why. At school or something. Anyway, and then...
They don't even go to the same school anymore.
And then, when they go to Speed Daal, and Ali's having a meltdown, Corey's like, oh, calm down, you mardy cow, or something like that, wasn't he? He was basically making fun of her.
Which is what I was thinking as well, but...
But he was doing it in such a bold manner.
Yeah, he was doing it to impress Asha, and I think Asha didn't particularly mind that she was treating Alya like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. It didn't show anybody in good light, really.
No, Corey is not a likeable
He's
person.
He's a smarmy little git.
The fact that he was reacting that way to Alya did give me hope, because sometimes characters, like Corey wants you to like them, and you're like, no, I don't. But the fact that he was acting like that made me think, okay, Corey doesn't want us to think that Corey's a nice person. I didn't need this extra wrinkle to the Asher story. I'd rather it was I'd rather it went back to the whole skin lightening thing, which didn't feel like it was finished. And I'm more interested in Dev's money problems as well, which is unusual because I don't usually like the money problem stories.
But yeah, I know, but
I just don't need her to be getting out of Corey.
It's so frustrating. It's like watching these people who go on like money saving experts, or they go through we're having financial woes, please can you help us to work out where we're going wrong, and then the expert comes in and says, right, well, you're not going on holiday to Sri Lanka, and you're not having a golf course membership, and you're gonna stop sending your dog to the groomers and getting your hair dyed for £60 a pop every month for both of them. And they go, no, we can't do that. All these money saving things where they go, here's how to save £1,000 a year, and you read it and they say, don't buy Starbucks anymore on your way to work, and you go, if you're so stupid that you can't think of this yourself, you kind of deserve to be in debt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dev's problems, his money problems, can be solved by stopping sending his kids to Ponzi private school.
Exactly. I also, with this story, I was kind of hoping that it would focus more on Adi as well, only because I want to see more of Adi. I want to see more of Adam Hussein, who I still think is doing a very good job with him, but he's not been given enough to do yet.
He seems oblivious.
I'm just very curious to know, can he handle a story?
Yeah.
But it's more, this is still Asher and Dev's story.
Asher obviously understands that Dev's having money problems because they're sending them both to a different school, partly because of what happened to her. And so that's why she offered to do the shift, because she obviously feels guilty. But this is another thing that drove me nuts, right? Dev's like going, oh, listen, I just can't, I'm really worried, like, so many bills, cash flow problems, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, my wallet's on the side, go get yourself lunch. What are you talking about?
I didn't remember
My kids would not be eating lunches out if I was having trouble with my money problems. Maybe he's just like, at this point, it's like slapping a plaster on the side of the Titanic. Eat what you want.
And that was it for the week, apart from the Abby and Debbie stuff. It was literally, we saw Abby coming back from a addiction meeting with Peter, didn't we? And, and Debbie happened to be there to act all suspicious on what's going on there.
And Abby had a go at her again, take the mick out of her a little bit, because for some reason that it's funny.
But then
she's mean.
Yeah, and then that was it, because like I said, Wednesday felt like it was a bit of a new filming block, so it could be a while until we see any more of that again. It might not be, but
we don't know.
We'll see. I'm not
behind the scenes.
I'm interested to see a bit more of Debbie, just because she's new but old, but you know what I mean. But it's still not feeling. I'm still not gripped by the potential Abby.
I want to see a bit more of what her
Peter
personality is.
Yeah.
I tell you, the wardrobe department is really, really good, and I sing their praises all the time on this show, but I have to say that sometimes they really have to do the heavy lifting for some of these characters and tell you a lot more about their personalities than the writers ever bothered to. Because you can look at what Debbie wears and you can pick up a lot more about her than you can from what she's said and done so far.
Yeah, she's not had much of a chance to say things, has she?
No, I know. Well, you know what? My wardrobe speaks louder than my voice.
Right, this week I'm giving my character of the week to Sally, I think, because I just like how she's standing up against Geoff, and she's sticking to her guns, and she's trying to convince Tim, despite the fact that she seems to be fighting a losing battle, and her discovery of the whole camera thing was what piqued my interest more than pretty much anything else this week. So
do Sally, I have to pick a character?
Yes, you do. And I am going to score this week's episode. I think it felt better than last week to me. It wasn't thrilling, and like I said, the Alya meltdown was a bit of a disappointment. Everything else was okay. I'll be generous and give it a 3 this week. I'm going to give it 3 tins of reduced beans out of 5. And I don't know what anyone else has scored. I put the poll up on the Facebook group already, and I've purposely not looked at it because I don't want to copy anyone's scores.
Yeah,
so 3 is what I'm going for, but it's almost into the 2s again.
Right. What do I want to give it?
I don't know.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Do you want to give your score first, or do you want to give your character
Well,
the week
I agree
first?
with your score. I think 3 is a fairly... I think they deserve
It was
3.
fine
It's
enough.
not brilliant. It's not terrible.
What are you going to give it 3 of?
I'm going to give it 3 ninjas in a cardigan.
Nice.
Thanks.
Character of the week?
I don't know.
It wasn't a week where somebody stood out head and
wasn't
shoulders. Unless you're
someone's week, was
you're an Alya fan, I suppose.
Yeah.
We're not.
No, I'm not Alya's fan, but if I was to be her fan, this week is the closest she's come to doing something. Oh, I don't know.
She's just coming across. She's still coming across to me as weak.
I know she is very ineffectual. When the difference is, right, when Yasmin wielded that wine bottle at Geoff, there was a sense of danger and she was unhinged. Whereas when Alya had it, it's like, what are you going to do with that? Don't cut yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It had a different feel to it.
Yeah, but I don't think that. Yeah, I think it was a good scene because it demonstrated, like, she's making the same. I think that's what we're supposed to get out of it. Alya's making the same mistakes as Yasmin did, I guess, by letting Geoff get to her and play her like a fool, and maybe this might be a catalyst for Alya using a different tack.
I don't know
Geoff.
though,
I
because
don't know either.
this is what she's like. Whereas Sally, Geoff is trying to get to Sally and it's not working.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why Sally's more of a hero in this for me. That she's not letting him win, where Alya just is every time. Alya can't help herself but scream at him in the street or lose her rag in front of him. She's just playing into what he wants. He wants to see her squirming and suffering, and he's loving it. You could give your character of the week to however you wanted to. You could give it to Adam. You could give it to Sally.
I was just thinking about giving it to Adam because I think I do really, I would love to know if this was originally written for Ken. Such a thing that Ken would do, all of these scenes this week. But I think he did it well. You know, it's interesting. It's nice to see him treating Daniel like he is a closer relative, because they're often quite remote from one another. They're not exactly brothers, but they are they're a generation apart, but they're the same, similar age.
He's not just ignoring it. We did say earlier that he's kind of low level helping. And maybe there's a bit more that he could do.
And he's helping in like the most emotionally detached.
Yeah.
I only know how to solve things with money or threatening people with legal action, and this isn't applicable at the moment. So do you want money? Kind of way.
But he's trying. He
is trying his bestest.
Yeah.
I'll give
Let's
it
wait
to
and see
Adam.
what he's like when Gary comes back.